Ayo Luckies, welcome back to Luck Management. This episode is always brought to you by Charm ND, and this episode is one you are going to remember for a long time. I love this episode. Today we had on 17-year veteran quarterback, VP of New Business Development at Marsh McLennan, a CBS Sports analyst, NFL sports analyst, and a man that talks about luck, determination, fighting through adversity, growing his network, transitioning from sports to the business world, and all of that in between. A man that I appreciate and loved having on this episode, Steve Beuerlein, a quarterback that played for the Panthers, the Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Raiders when they were in Los Angeles, the Dallas Cowboys, the Jacksonville Jaguars. He gets into so many cool topics, really cool stories, talking about Lou Holtz, talking about his time in the NFL, dealing with coaches, Tom Coughlin. Also, it's just a time where you come together and learn more about his love for Notre Dame, his love for faith, and his ability to grow. This episode is perfect for understanding the Notre Dame folklore, but also the adversity and challenges that you need to go through in business. So please enjoy this episode, and let's go. Ayo, welcome back to the Luck Management Podcast. It is your host, Carter Loesch, and today we've got a Christmas special coming up. Welcome back to the Luck Management Podcast, where we dive into the world of luck, perseverance, strategy. And today we have a very special guest. So a long introduction here. We have somebody that has had a remarkable path in the world of Notre Dame, in football and in business. So we're going to intermingle and talk about all that dedication in the world of sports, but also bridging that to the world of business. We have Steve Beuerlein, an 87 Notre Dame graduate, a Notre Dame alumnus, illustrious career as a quarterback, and now a vice president at Marsh McLennan. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you, Carter. I appreciate it. It's great to be here and be a part of it, and always feel extremely comfortable in the Notre Dame environment. Like that little leprechaun over your shoulder right there. I know I'm in good company, so it's going to be a good, fun time spent. Quality podcast. I'm looking forward to it.
I love it. Go Irish on that one. And on top of that, I forgot to say, Super Bowl champion. Congratulations, by the way. But
Thank you.
All know the most important thing is being a part of that Notre Dame family, that Notre Dame love and passion. Let's kick it off just starting out there. Well, you know what? First, I'll take a second, and I just want to say, where am I calling you out from?
I am in Southern California. I grew up out here in Orange County. Actually grew up in LA and Orange County. And so I'm in the city of Laguna Niguel right now, which is, pretty much right between LA and San Diego. It's where we're kind of located. So, again, I grew up out here throughout my NFL career, which was 17 years. I played on 6 different teams. So I lived a lot of different places and was fortunate to kind of settle down in the Charlotte area where I raised my family when my kids were young. And but we came back out here to California in 2011. And so been out here now for the last 12 years. And, it's pretty awesome. Good living out here.
Yeah. Beautiful sunny days. I'm actually just out in Houston right now. But it's always been a goal to get out to California. I got family out there. That's awesome. It always makes Christmas, when you can wear a collared shirt out to Christmas time. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, when I was growing up, I thought that was normal because that's the way I always was for us when we were kids. And then as I got a little bit older, started to become a little bit more worldly, you realize how lucky you got it out here. And there's a lot of great things about California too.
Hmm.
There's obviously on the news you hear about a lot of the things that aren't so great about it, but
All the
uh,
craziness, yeah.
you got to take the good with the bad, yeah. And we'll see if I don't know if I'm going to end up out here long term or not. I really love North Carolina and really can kind of see myself maybe ending up back out that way one of these days. But for now, it's California.
You know what? It's all about that perspective shift, right? It's all about
Yeah,
taking in where you are. I mean, California has some of the most amazing beaches driving down PCH.
yeah,
It's you can't beat it right there. And of
no
course, you
doubt.
got your crazies, but you got your
Uh,
In-N-Out burger. So it all balances
we,
out at one end.
that's right. There's a scale. You got to whatever's more important to you. But we got a
Yep.
lot of crazies out here, no doubt about it.
And you know what? At the same time, too, we have that connection to Charlotte. My family is currently in Charlotte, and you raised your kids out there. I can't wait to
Right.
kind of get into Charlotte and the world is how it's changed. We actually moved in 2008, and being able to move from New Jersey going into that, it was a complete turnaround.
Yeah.
And you kind of brought Charlotte into the forefront. So we're going to get into that in a moment here, but first thing I want to do in this podcast, and something I do with all my guests, is I talk about the philosophy of the luck management podcast. So people say, like, what is luck management? What does that mean? And so I've always defined luck management as the hard work that brings you luck. So by capitalizing on those opportunities, by seizing on those moments of chance, good or bad luck. Not all luck is good, not all luck is bad, but what you do with that luck at the end of the day shapes you and allows you to become a stronger person. So, as long as you're building that growth mindset for success and you're being adaptable and prepared to those situations, those lucky situations you're put in,
Yeah.
I think that you start to create this world of luck management. So, I
Well,
wanted to start it off with you what you think about luck.
I think you nailed it. There was a quote, and you basically just summarized it, but it kind of simplifies, I think, what luck really is when you get down to it. It's when preparation meets opportunity. So when
Mm-hmm.
you're prepared, and you've done all the things that you need to do to give yourself a chance to be successful, when that opportunity presents itself, good things happen. And I think that's the best way to describe it. If you're a lot of opportunities, as you know, and as I experienced throughout the course of my career, so many ups and downs. And everything's about that next opportunity and trying to prepare yourself for when that next opportunity is going to come, knowing that, or believing deep in your heart that it is going to come at some point. But if you're not prepared for that opportunity, nothing's going to come out of it. So people can
Yes.
say it's luck that a guy gets a chance or a person gets a chance to be successful or to take the next step, whether it's in professional life, sports, athletics, or business, whatever it might be, or just life in general. It's those opportunities pass a lot of people by because they're not ready for them. And when you are prepared and you are looking and you're aware, that's when good things seem to happen.
That is when you start to see lucky moments. And something you hit on right there is that belief that good things, that luck is going to happen. Because so much so, we live in this world of mindset where we're not prepared for something or we're taking it back. By being like ready for it and thinking that good things are going to come, then you're going to start to manifest that and allow that to come into your life. If you're sitting on the sidelines expecting bad things to come, bad things will come because you subconsciously seek it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
I fully appreciate that, and I'm sure you had to see that through your long football career, but also just in business, everyday life.
Well, it's a lot of people would look at it as kind of a religious philosophy when you start talking about faith and belief. For me, it is. I mean, it is part of my faith. And that's a huge part that's gotten me through the adversity that I've been through in my life. But it is that confidence and that belief that good things are coming, no matter how tough things might be. If you lose hope, if you lose faith that good things are coming, life as you know it is pretty much over, and nothing but bad things and negativity is going to happen to you. So whether you want to look at it from a religious standpoint or just an overall philosophical perspective, you've got to have hope and belief and faith that good things are coming in order to be able to seize those opportunities.
100%. And speaking of luck and the luck of the Fighting Irish, both
Yeah.
Notre Dame grads. So you're living in California and you come up to this, you're pretty much on the sands of California, you're in the nice weather, and you decide, as did I, as did my family, to go out to South Bend, Indiana to make that leap. Can you talk to me a little bit about that decision of saying Notre Dame will be my home for college?
Well, yeah, my dad was from the Midwest, an old German Catholic family, real traditional family values. Our Catholic faith really was the center of everything growing up. My mom and my dad hit it off immediately when they met, and they were on the same page raising four boys. I was number two of four. And one of the things that was kind of ironic, growing up in Southern California, obviously everybody thinks of USC, the University of Southern California. Well,
Boo.
there's a that's yeah. So there's a key point coming up here. I grew up loving USC's arch rival, which was UCLA. Obviously, still is to this day. That's one of their arch rivals, and the other one, Notre Dame. Well, my dad was a huge Notre Dame fan, being from the Midwest and being strong Catholic. So we grew up loving Notre Dame. And then when we were raised in California, we loved UCLA. So we double hated USC. And
Good.
in
Good. You're
fact,
doing the right thing.
yeah,
Right
in
there.
fact, I will tell you this. In my home, USC is a four-letter word. You can't say the word USC in my house.
FUSC?
I look at that as a cuss word. So that's how strongly I feel about it. My four kids are raised that way as well. So when the opportunity came up and I was getting recruited to go play football, I had a lot of options, a lot of opportunity. As one of the top high school quarterbacks coming out. But I was so grateful that the two schools that I loved the most, Notre Dame and UCLA,
Yeah.
offered me full ride scholarships. And so those are really the only two that I had it narrowed down to. Stanford kind of came into play late in the picture because John Elway had just left. And it was a great spot to be. It was a quarterback factory up there at that time. So it was really those three schools. And I narrowed it down very quickly, and it really came down to Notre Dame and UCLA. And I can't tell you exactly what it was that made the decision for me. All I know is that there was a day about 3 or 4 weeks before signing date where my dad asked me, he said, Steve, what are you thinking? What are you leaning? And I said, well, Dad, I'm kind of leaning towards Stanford right now. And I don't know,
Whoa.
I'm just not sure. I think I want to go to Stanford. He said, you know what, let's take your time, sleep
Calm
on it, think
down.
about it a little bit. Yeah. And about a week later, he says, okay, what are you thinking now? How do you feel? I said, well, Dad, I really like UCLA. I think I want to go to UCLA. That's really where my heart is
Think it
leading me
over.
right now. He goes, take your time. Just think through this a little bit more. We don't want to rush into it.
Yeah.
And then about a week later, about a week before signing date, I came downstairs that one morning and I said, Dad, I think I made my decision. I want to go to Notre Dame. And he goes, call the coaches right now. Call them up. Let them know you want to go. So I knew where he wanted me to go. And that's how the decision was really made.
That's incredible. I mean, yeah, you have your parents that lightly, slowly nudge you
Yeah. Take your
in the right
time. Be
direction.
patient. Don't rush into it,
I mean, I think you probably look better in that gold and blue than that red. I don't know. This
There are times where I do wonder what would have happened if I would have gone to like a UCLA, because when
totally.
I was at Notre Dame, there were down years for Notre Dame. It was
Hmm.
the third, fourth, and fifth years of Jerry Faust, and then my final year at Notre Dame was the first year of Lou Holtz, and
Yeah.
so I went through a lot of ups and downs, and too much to really get into, but there were a lot of times where I wondered if I had made a mistake because UCLA was very strong at that time, and I think I would have come in and had a chance to play there
Yeah.
from the get go as well. And I wondered, but looking back at it now, there's absolutely no doubt that I made the right call. I love Notre Dame with all my heart. So
100%. My dad went in '86, so he was there. He was
yeah, he went through the dark days as well. Yeah, no doubt about it.
he
Yeah.
was in the thick of it. But I actually love being able to speak to you about it because there's not too many seasons. There's not too many days. I mean, the early 2000s were tough for Notre Dame too. But where the program really needed to change, or where the program really needed to evaluate, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And how do we get out of it? Because you could make a wrong decision, or you could have some down years, but like, what are you doing to learn from it? From those 3 years of toughness and playing in times of not winning, how did that prepare you for moving into your NFL football career? Because just one thing on that is that, like, so many of the great quarterbacks are that win all the time in college, they actually don't end up being very good in the NFL. It's a lot of those guys that have to deal with the adversity and know how to deal with mistakes to get better.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. There were many, many nights. I lived in Soren Hall and loved that dorm. And really, I can tell you this with a lot of pride now looking back on it. People ask me what got me through those dark days. And there were injuries, there were just all kinds of disappointing losses and heartache and heartbreak. And we were, remember, we were just 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. And
Yeah.
we come out of high school, we get to college, and Jerry Faust is our coach. And, we're thinking, wow, this is great. We're in college, we're playing at Notre Dame. Well, you don't know any better. You don't know why you're struggling the way that you are at that time, because we were too young to understand that we just didn't have the direction. We didn't have a coach and a coaching staff that really knew how to get us to where we wanted to be. And we were doing everything they told us to do. We were working hard. We were trying our best, but
Yeah.
we felt like we just weren't good enough. And, you go
Interesting.
through those dark days. I spent a lot of time in the chapel at Soren Hall, late at night, middle of the night, just asking
Right.
God, hey, what do I got to do to get out of this hole that we're in here? It shouldn't be this difficult. And, but my faith was tested, but I never lost it. And when Lou Holtz came in, we all realized immediately that this was the way it was supposed to be. This is what a
Yeah.
real football coach
You
is
felt
like.
it, like a
We
complete
felt it
change.
immediately. We felt it immediately. And it didn't show up necessarily in wins and losses that first year,
Mhm.
but everybody that watched us play, and your dad will be able to remember this as well, we were a different football team. I mean,
Yeah.
we were able to play with the best teams in the country, and very easily could have been, a 1 or 2 loss team that year, with just a couple of breaks here and there, just against the top teams in the country. We really played everybody at the top, and we're talking about Michigan's and Penn State. Penn State won the national championship. Michigan was with Jim Harbaugh and Bo Schembechler, and we played LSU. We lost by 1 point down at LSU in a national TV game at night. The whole season was like that. Just right there, we just didn't know how to quite get it over the hump. And obviously, Lou Holtz figured out how to get that done with his team a couple years later, and the rest is history.
2 things on that. So one quote that I've been peppering heavy on this podcast that I heard about Lou Holtz: luck follows speed. And the fact that he came in and he had that quote, but he brought in that new energy. I just left a company that I was working for. It was a consulting firm. And what you realize is that when you're not working with leaders and people that are empowering you, or that, believe in you to do your best, I think that stagnates the workplace and people don't feel as comfortable. And moving into this new company that I'm working for, I have felt immediately just that empowerment, but also that trust of, hey, go get this done, go do this well. it's your leaders that make the biggest difference. It's being around those people that want to see the most for you. And it's been incredibly impactful for me, but for you to be able to see that and say, our team was different, campus was
Mhm.
different, that's cool.
Ayo, this episode is sponsored and brought to you by Charm ND. Charm ND specializes in creating unique and authentic sterling silver vials and real items from around the Notre Dame campus. Each charm is carefully handmade and contains a little piece of the Fighting Irish spirit. Vials filled with dirt from the iconic main quad, pellets from the hollowed ground of the Notre Dame Football Stadium, wood shavings from the seats of the stadium, 24-karat golds from the Notre Dame football helmets, water from the serene St. Joseph's Lake, candle wax from the peaceful grotto, water from the Notre Dame reflecting pond, and holy water for added blessings. Charms are priced at between $20 and $30 and can be customized to your needs as a necklace or a lucky charm. Check us out at charm_ND at Instagram. Our charms are a perfect gift for any Notre Dame fan or alum. So go Charm ND and go Irish. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, and everybody felt it, and everybody knew it was a matter of time. You know, my senior class, we get a lot of credit from Lou Holtz himself for being the class that really started the turnaround and really got things going in the right direction for Notre Dame. But a lot of times we're a forgotten class, because we were 5-6 and we had nothing to show for the Jerry Faust days. And, to be held in high regard by Lou Holtz. And to this very day, I went back and I saw him at the Ohio State game this year. We had a chance to talk for about a half hour one afternoon, and he brings it up every single time. No matter who's around, no matter what the situation might be, he immediately says, "This guy," and he points to me. He's like, he was the leader that helped get this program turned around, and if he didn't buy into it the way that he did, we wouldn't have got that thing turned around the way that we did so quickly. And it was Steve and his classmates that really, just as a seniors, bought into what we were trying to sell them on. And he constantly gives us credit. So that helps us in our own little way feel like we were a part of getting this thing going in the right direction, which was really important. And I think that's what great leaders do. They keep you engaged. They find a way to lift you when you need to be lifted up and need to be encouraged and maybe directed a little bit, guided a little bit. But he was definitely one of the best, if not the best, I've ever been around.
You could take that with you anywhere. Like, to have Lou Holtz say that, I mean, fantastic. Like, amazing to see. Speaking of Notre Dame and your time there, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on the program today and your thoughts on Freeman, the world of the transfer portal. What do you see for Notre Dame?
Well, from a very general perspective, I really hate where college football is right now with the NIL and with the transfer portal. And I knew when this stuff started unfolding a couple years ago that it was Pandora's box, that it was just going to be that everything that's happening right now was exactly what the future held. And it's just not the same, anymore. And it's so hard to sit back and just watch and just say, just the way that it is, just the way it is today. This is just, the way it's going to be.
Do that.
It really is. And because things change. I mean, think about what's already happened this year, with Notre Dame players leaving and new guys coming in. And it's worse in many ways than the NFL, because these players don't have any restriction whatsoever. I mean, they can just pick up and leave whenever they want to leave, just put their name in the transfer portal and go. And
There's no
it really
building
is
of
a
a
sad
team.
situation. What's that?
There's no building of a team. It doesn't feel like
It's
you
pretty
guys can
hard.
come together.
I don't know how these coaches are going to do it long term. And I will say this: I love Marcus Freeman. I love everything that he stands for. I know he's still learning. He's still a young head coach, but I believe with every ounce of my being that he's the right guy. That he's meant to be
I
there,
agree.
and that he's going to get this thing figured out. You know, he's got tough decisions to make every year. Now he's trying to get the right staff in place, and along with all the recruiting stuff that's going on. But I had a conversation with him last year. I think it was in June or July. Just just this past June or July, this past summer. And I got to meet Sam Hartman for the first time there as well.
Awesome.
But Marcus said, you know, I was like, man, is this going to be the way it's going to be just indefinitely now? You're just going to have to go out and try and bring in these, you know, 5th year or maybe 6th year quarterbacks to come in instead of developing a guy for long term. I mean, are those days done? And he looked at me and he said, you know what, Steve? He goes, I don't think so. I hope not. And he said, I can tell you that the powers that be in the NCAA right now, and he goes, not necessarily the organization, but Division I college football coaches and athletic directors understand that this cannot go on the way that it is. There has to be some sort of regulation. There has to be some sort of united effort to get control of this, because it's so unrealistic to be able to expect this to go on at the level that it's going on now. It's just not feasible. And I think that he believes that there's going to be structure, and I think hearing it from him gives me confidence that at least maybe there's a lot of people that are coming together to try to get a hold of this thing.
No, I 100% agree. And we could actually hop into Reed right here. Welcome on, Reed Youngholm. This is my old roommate from Notre Dame, so also a Notre Dame guy.
What's
Welcome
up,
on
Reed?
for Reed
How's it going,
Option. Reed,
Steve?
I'll let you take it away.
How you doing, Steve? Great to be on with you.
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So this probably catches you off guard a little bit. Kind of the point. So, yeah, I've had the pleasure of doing the read option with Carter for some time now. Obviously, like you said, we were roommates, and had this fun idea, kind of a play on words with my name. So I'll come in on the podcast. I've been doing it again for about a year now. 15-minute segment or so.
He pops in
And,
randomly.
Yeah, coming at random times, obviously. And so, yeah, again, the name's Reed, and so we call it the read option. So I pitch a couple options here for you. So
Did you ever run the Reed Option, Steve?
you have. This probably isn't your first read option, I'd imagine.
No, not my first, but that's a whole other
Might be your
story.
last.
I was not known to be a runner, so the run up, that kind of option was not one of my fortes. No, not at all. So,
Well,
but I know how to make the read. I can do it.
sure. There
I
we
can
go.
do it.
That's the hardest part right there. So
That's right.
That's the difficulty. So it's supposed to be difficult, just like a read option here. And then, so the game is I'm gonna present you with a question here. So I'll read off that question for you, and then you can take that question. You read that question. See if they're supposed to be difficult to answer. So if that's too difficult for you, you can gamble. And then go with the next question. If not, then you answer that one, and then you're done. So
Okay. All right.
all right.
I think I can handle it. I've been in some hot seats before, but I think I can handle this one.
He's
Good.
back on it.
So this first question is, so obviously you had a number of years starting for Notre Dame, number of successful years, and then a number of successful years starting for the Carolina Panthers. So my question is, would you have rather won a national championship starting for Notre Dame or a Super Bowl starting for the Carolina Panthers?
Wow, that is a tough question.
Great read option.
As a quarterback, you dream of both, But if I had to choose one, I think I would take Notre Dame. I would take the national championship because even though the Super Bowl is kind of the pinnacle of sports when you're talking about professional sports and the Super Bowl and all that stuff, I just think that to be able to say that I won a national championship, I was a quarterback on the national championship team at Notre Dame, and be able to carry that around with me for the rest of my life, and be able to wear that badge of honor would be second to none. So I think I would, if I had to choose, I would choose the national championship at Notre Dame.
Good choice.
Great choice. Great. We joked.
Yes.
You took that one to the house, Steve. You ran that one to the house.
Okay, good. I haven't done that many times in the past, so I usually let my arm do the work.
Yeah.
So
There you
let
go.
the other guys run it in.
You feel it.
Realistically, on that, Reed, like
Yeah.
I feel also because you guys won in '88, or as Notre Dame won in '88, it was right near when you guys had won previously, and I think Notre Dame had won one in '77. So, but to win one now, oh my gosh, it would blow my mind. I'd be crying. I will be crying when we win our next championship.
Well, you got to believe, like we were talking about earlier, you got to believe it's coming here one of these days. So yeah, it'll be a big deal when it does happen for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So is that a hard question for you, or was it pretty, like, were you back and forth in your head there, or was it pretty?
I was, yeah. I was. It was not an easy question because Super Bowl. I do have a Super Bowl ring, and I was the backup quarterback for the Cowboys to Troy Aikman at that time in 1992 season, 1993 Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
I always, as a competitor and as a player, I did a lot of great things as a pro, but I never really had a chance to have my own team and really have an organization build around me and say, hey, Steve, you're the guy. We're gonna let you have the keys, and we're gonna let you go and see if you can do this. And so you always wonder, if I would have been given that opportunity, could I have taken it to the ultimate? And in my heart, I think I could have, but we'll never know. And so it was a tough decision for me to choose between those things because for different reasons, they both would have been extremely meaningful. So
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And then one more kind of follow up there is because you, from an outside perspective as a fan, I think the prediction is always that, or the perception is always that the bonds are tighter on the college teams than they are in the NFL teams. Is that true? A, and then B, does that factor into the choice of Notre Dame over maybe a Panthers Super Bowl as a starting QB there?
Well, I think that back in the day, back when we played, I mean, when you chose a school, you were there for your whole college career.
Yep.
Now you're only there until the next better offer comes up, or until if things aren't going the way that you want them to go, you want to move somewhere else. It's so easy to move around. So I find it hard to believe that there could be the same kind of chemistry that we used to have back in those days when I was playing college football. In the NFL, there's always turnover, but the core group is always the guys that are the main players are going to be there. They're under contract usually, so there's not as much transition as there seems to be now in college football. But you identify much more with your college, with your alma mater. If you went to one of the big programs, high profile programs, I think those ties and those bonds probably go a lot deeper than my NFL ties and bonds. Because anytime anybody asks me right now, it happens every day wherever I go. People say, "Hey, what's your favorite team? What team do you follow in the NFL?" I'm like, you know what? There's only one team I follow. That's Notre Dame. NFL, I played for 6 different teams. It was a business. I loved it. I had some great years at different places, but I only really consider myself a fan and a loyal supporter of one place. That's Notre Dame. So
Yeah, that's a cool thing. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
It's great to hear that perspective from someone who's been in both arenas. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then like you mentioned too, that's one of the many flaws, and hopefully it corrects itself down the line at some point. But one of the many current flaws of the transfer portal and the way college football, the landscape of college football, is kind of molding into right now. It's
Yeah,
unfortunate.
I think for everybody's sake, it would be great if there was some sort of way to get that under control, regulated a little bit. Just because it's a disaster right now.
So
It
we were
is.
just talking about that before you hopped in, Reed, and there is one area that I actually see it as a positive for Notre Dame because you at least have these players that want to come to Notre Dame. I feel bad for, no offense, I have a lot of friends at Georgia Tech or like your Syracuses of the world. If you're balling and people want you, then you can be taken. But it's nice to at least be a destination school at the end of the day.
It's
Well,
yeah.
go ahead, Reed.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, that's a great point, and yeah, I don't really think about that. I think there's certain schools that's gonna benefit from more than others. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, well, you think about just the current example, Sam Hartman. Think about what the 1 year at Notre Dame is going to do for his life, right?
Hmm.
He may
Yeah,
never make it in the NFL. I don't know if he's going to be projected as a, high profile, draft choice. I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, me too.
He'll get a chance to play somewhere and show if he can do it. But to be able to sit there now and say for the rest of his life that he was a Notre Dame quarterback, I mean, I know what that means. And I understand the opportunities that are created because of that. At Wake Forest, he had a heck of a career there.
Yeah, great
And he
school
would have
still.
been remembered, as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Wake Forest quarterback of all time. But there's a little bit of a difference between wearing the gold helmet for Notre Dame and wearing the gold helmet
Demon
for Wake
Deacon.
Forest.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
it's a little bit different. He realized that, and I think that's what made Notre Dame so attractive for him. He realized that would be with him for the rest of his life. So
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I think so. And it's funny how there's always a bigger fish in the transfer portal. And obviously those elite teams, you can't much. I think teams like Notre Dame, places people transfer to, those target schools, Carter, you're talking about, like Notre Dame and Bama. A lot of those, I guess you could say, elite Power Five, and even those non-conference teams like Notre Dame. But even you'll see people transferring Notre Dame from schools like Oklahoma State. That would be a target school for someone else at an FCS
yeah,
school. It's interesting. And even the team, I know we just talked about Sam Hartman at Wake Forest, and you mentioned it, Steve. Like, excellent school, had an incredible career there, but there's still a bigger fish. There's still a higher profile team that you can go to that can set you up for success moving
right.
forward. Yeah, it's great to be one of those.
Did you guys see what the Wake Forest coach said after the
Oh
game?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and I hear it. I feel his pain.
yeah,
Everybody's doing the big send off for Sam Hartman at Notre Dame, his final game, senior day. They're playing Wake Forest on senior day. I
yeah,
can imagine what that coach was thinking.
Like what?
This is the guy that I developed. He was my quarterback, and
yeah.
now Notre Dame he's riding off into the sunset as this son of Notre Dame, and that's just, I can imagine that's probably about as frustrating as a scenarios that he could ever possibly have imagined. That had to be pretty hard.
Right,
That
right. Yeah,
that
he just
absolutely
pulled
speaks
back.
to like, oh my bad.
No.
No, that absolutely speaks though to like Notre Dame and like hopping into the community of Notre Dame. You
Right.
like we love somebody that comes in and believes in the university and like wants to be a part of it. And he did. And like Reed and I, we just spent 1 year for grad school there. So we know that feeling, that adoption of like, holy crap, we get 1 year here and it's the best year of our lives. So
Right.
Reed, you could probably attest.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we pulled the Sam Hartman in some ways. Came for a year and
I love it. I love
blinked.
it.
So yeah, it's been a cool thing. It's been a great experience, and obviously get to do things like this, which have been great. So Steve, great to talk to you guys. Great to come in as always, and Carter, appreciate you for having me on.
Always Reed, and that's the
All
Reed
right, Reed.
option.
Good
Another
option.
great one.
Take care, buddy. Yeah, thanks. We
Take care.
survived it.
To the house.
Yes, sir.
So he likes to come in random points, and it just kind of gives a whole different dynamic and change to the podcast, which I
Right.
appreciate.
Right. That's awesome.
So I guess we kind of finished a little bit on that whole transfer portal and how that world is going. Overall, I do think we're in a good spot. I like next year's schedule, I would say, because it doesn't feel as daunting. I think Florida State and Louisville will be tough, but the schedule is a little bit less. We got some really good wide receivers coming in. We got a new quarterback. It's just going to be interesting having to deal with an offensive coordinator that hasn't been there for a year. He's going to have 6 months or 8 months to be able to get us ready. I do think that it's going to take a little bit of time for us to get there, but with the 12-team playoff, that's where the expectation is.
Yeah. I mean, I love the fact that 12-team playoff is coming because it eliminates all the arguments like the one that's going on right now. I feel horrible for Florida State. I get why they're so upset. I think they're justified. And I think, even Georgia, I mean, how are they not one of the top 4 teams in the country or not having a chance to at least compete to avenge the one loss that they had at the end of the year against a team like Alabama, who is peaking, obviously. But, the 12-team playoff will eliminate all that conversation, I think, because I think, if anything, going to 12 teams is too many. But we will have an answer for any arguments that could ever be made as to whether a team really deserved to be the national champion. But in Notre Dame, there's absolutely no reason why Notre Dame should not regularly find themselves in that 12-team playoff. I mean, if they're not, then that means we're not doing a very good job, and that means we'll be looking for new coaches again at some point. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think Notre Dame's going to find their way into that opportunity, and hopefully we'll be able to cash in on it a little bit more effectively than we have in the past few attempts to try to reestablish ourselves as one of the powers.
Yeah, right. We got bigger issues if we're not making it there on the 12-team playoff. But one thing that I thought was so funny is that last year was the year I was there, 8-4. The 2 quarterbacks that came back literally are back at Notre Dame, and they're not playing football anymore. So you got to give it to Freeman for figuring out that world of sports and stuff. But I like where we are, and I appreciate that. But I guess moving forward just a little bit, I'd love to understand a little bit about as you got into your professional career and how going to Notre Dame prepared you for your professional career, how you carried yourself, how you took yourself into the workouts day in and day out, and how you took on adversity, how you managed those opportunities.
Well, I think, there are so many things that Notre Dame offers that are unique to the student athletes and students in general, but the student athletes, as opposed to what you experience at maybe one of the other elite, Power 5, powerhouse schools. You're treated differently at a lot of those places with the lifestyle, the dorms and maybe some of the perks that go along with being a student athlete there. Now, of course, it's changed a lot at Notre Dame too, and there's a lot of bling that goes along with being a Notre Dame football player now that we didn't ever get to experience back when I was there in the late '80s. But
you didn't have any bling out there? Come on,
there was very little bling. The highlight for me was there was a little old lady by the name of Mrs. York that used to come out to practice every day, and after every win we had, she'd bake me some fresh homemade cookies. And so that was the bling. Good. That was the bling that I got. And but it's a different day and age now for sure. But I still think that the core values of what Notre Dame preaches and what Notre Dame is all about is very unique. It's very different compared to most, if not all, of the other schools that are out there, and we take a lot of pride in that. And my relationships are much deeper than just my football buddies. I have a lot of great friends that I played football with, but I have a lot more, and I take a lot more pride, really, in the friends that I have that I met that weren't related to football. They were the doctors and the aerospace engineers and the
Totally.
CEOs of companies now that have accomplished great things in their lives. And that perspective of getting to know that many different successful people, I think, pays off down the road for all of us. And Notre Dame prepared me for sure for life, I think, as well as any place could possibly have. And I don't know, everybody's different. All the different situations that I've been presented with throughout the course of my professional life, many more downs than ups, but the ups are the ones that you really remember and cherish and think about, because it was worth the effort to get to the point where you could experience those great times and the great successes. And it makes all of it worth it. If you, like you said earlier, if you going through that adversity, going through the valleys, makes you enjoy the peaks that much more. And I cherish every one of them for sure.
Ayo, today's luck management episode is brought to you by CharmND, or Charmed, if you'd like to call it, whatever you want to call it. It could be whatever you'd like. So CharmND is an idea I came up with, and I'm super passionate about it. I've always wanted to hold a piece of Notre Dame in my hand. Highly customizable to whatever you want. And they have the grotto. They have the reflecting pond water from Hesburgh Library. They have 24 karat gold flakes, the dirt from Main Quad. They have stadium seat shavings from the old seats of Notre Dame. The Notre Dame Stadium football pellets of the enjoyed and loved football team. And if you want to make one customizable, I'm happy to work with you. Go Irish and go CharmND. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, and I can hear it in your demeanor. I can hear it in your voice, and being able to talk about the past and saying, actually recognizing that there were some tough times, or that, hey, I wish I had an opportunity here or not. But you're still here, and you still have that, and to make the most out of it is incredible to see. I guess shifting into that, being able to take on and play for a team. I know that there was a few different stoppages throughout the career, like, oh, you got a few games here. Played really well. There was multiple times where you get in, you win like 3 to 4 games in a row, and then a coach happens, or it's always politics, it seems, with the NFL and stuff like that. But you move from a few different teams. You won a Super Bowl, which is amazing. But moving into the Carolina world and that 1999 season, like your best season, statistically, what were you? Were you just afraid that the world was going to end in 2000, or can you talk to me a little bit about that year for you?
Well, it's like we talked about earlier. It's about being ready for the opportunity, and there were so many things working against me going into that season, and too many to list. But what I will say is that, the year prior to that, Kerry Collins was our starting quarterback, and he quit 4 games into that season. We were 0-4. I had been his backup for a couple of years. I had gone through some difficult times in Jacksonville as the first quarterback there. Tom Coughlin, didn't treat me very well.
No, my parents, my whole family are Giants fans, and
Yeah.
and they know he's the worst guy in the world.
Well, we'll leave it at that. I mean, he was a tremendous coach in terms of his football knowledge and everything else, but it was not a real positive situation for me there.
Right.
Coming to Jacksonville from Carolina or from Arizona, I had a really good situation when I got to Arizona with Joe Bugle in the first year of free agency in the NFL in 1993. And it was a really positive situation. I felt like we had built something and we were moving, and I thought it was going to be my opportunity. But the owner of the team, Bill Bidwell, decided that he didn't think Joe Bugle could get him where he wanted to go. So he fired Joe Bugle and he brings in Buddy Ryan. Now, Buddy Ryan didn't like me and didn't think I could get the job done. And I went from being in a great situation the year before to being in the worst situation. And then I get sent to Jacksonville in the expansion draft. And then I end up in Carolina, and I don't know when my next opportunity is going to be. But then all of a sudden in '98, Kerry Collins quits. And I become the starting quarterback, 4 games into that '98 season. And we finished out. I played consistently well, and we ended up winning 5 of our last, I think 5 of our last 7 or 8 games, and got some good things going. And the organization rewarded me with a new contract. The problem is they fired the head coach, Dom Capers, and they brought in George Seifert. And George Seifert didn't think I could get the job done either going into the '99 season. And he fully expected to replace me, shortly into that season. But I knew that this was my chance, and we had some great players. This. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to make it very hard on you to make that decision because I've been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. And he said, okay, I hope you do make it tough on me. And sure enough, I had guys like Wesley Walls and Muhsin Muhammad and some really good players that were just getting themselves established as well. And we got hot at the right time, and we won enough games, and I was leading the NFL in passing where George Seifert couldn't pull me. He couldn't replace me, even though he wanted to. So I ended up leading the NFL in passing that year. Went to the Pro Bowl. And we missed the playoffs by 1 game, heartbreaker. We lost a couple of really tough games during that season that winning one of them would have got us into the playoffs. And but it just didn't work out. But I did prove myself, and I did show that I could be that guy. And I really enjoyed that opportunity for sure.
That's fantastic. And to be a part of the Panther world. I mean, I'm just because all of my friends are Panthers fans, and they're going through it right now. So I'm sure that they'd like a little bit more stability in that world of football.
Yeah, they would, and they deserve it. And I would love, and you consider this my appeal. I'm appealing to the Carolina Panthers. I would love to be a part of getting that program back on track. I think I just need a reason to go back to Carolina. I'd love to head back and be a big positive part of helping get that program back on top, because I would love to see that happen. It's such a great city. They deserve to have a good football team, one they can really rally around, and I would love to be a part of helping that happen.
Carolina football, keep pounding. My sister is actually roommates with a girl named Macy. And Macy dates Luke Kuechly currently.
Okay.
So we can get a little combination right there. You and Luke coming in together, turning around the program from the first season of the Carolina Panthers to, or one of the first seasons of the Carolina Panthers to one of the last good seasons of the Carolina Panthers with Luke Kuechly coming together. All right, you heard it here first. It's happening.
I love it. I saw Luke. We had our alumni weekend just a few. It was probably what was the week that the Panthers had their only other win? It was the Houston week. When Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud were going at it, the number 1 and number 2 picks, and the Panthers won that day. They had a lot of the alumni in. I got a chance to sit down with Luke a little bit too. He's doing great, and
great guy.
Obviously, an incredible career that was ended too short with the head injuries, but he's doing great now. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, I've gone line dancing with him. He actually wanted to go to Notre Dame. He was a BC guy, and he never got recruited to go to Notre Dame. I said, back to college, eh?
Most BC guys are that way. They had to settle for BC.
Right.
You could tell him I said that, but I can't believe. Wait, he's from up like Northeast, isn't he?
Yep, he's from Ohio. Yeah, up there.
And he's a line dancer. He's doing line dancing.
we went out to Coyote Joe's and had a great time. And that man, as he takes football seriously, he takes his line dancing
That's
seriously. And
awesome. I
yeah,
love to see that. That's great.
it was great. And I know we might be coming up on time, but the last few minutes of what I want to do is just shift a little bit into moving out of your sports career and into your business career. You now are working with Marsh. You're working in business development. I also work in business development. Can you talk to me about your time with Marsh and what it's meant for you in your career and that transition?
Well, it was quite the shock. I played in the NFL till I was 38,
Which is
and
amazing back then.
yeah, it was. Yeah, to play 17 years, the way we used to get hit. They don't get hit today like we used to get hit. They're not allowed to hit them that way. And it's a totally different game today. But it's obviously all in the interest of player safety. So
Yeah, you got toughness.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But I didn't expect to find myself in corporate America, and through just a sequence of events, things that happened. I had to seek other opportunities, and I still am doing some commentating. I work with CBS,
Yep.
some a little bit. I did games for a lot of years for CBS. Now I do a show during the football season, and I'm also calling games on Compass Media Radio, college and NFL games. And so I've got that part of my life still going, but the real focus has been with Marsh and in corporate America. And what I found interestingly, Carter, is that a lot of the principles that led to success on the football field carry over in life in general and in professional life. I went into a world where I was completely, like a fish out of water. All of a sudden, dropped from the locker room into corporate America. And I didn't know what an expense report was. I didn't know how to turn on my computer. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And here we are 12 years later, and I feel like just the same qualities that enabled me to have success during my professional football career, my collegiate career, are the same qualities that have helped me, keep battling and keep fighting and keep trying to figure out how to survive in this world, because it's cutthroat too. I mean, if you're not producing in business development and whatever else it is you're doing, you're not going to have a job. And
Yep.
the same qualities, internal qualities that it takes to be successful on the field are the same ones that allow you to be successful in the business world as well. And you got to be able to deal with rejection. You got to be able to
Mm-hmm.
deal with failing, and you've got to be able to pick yourself back up and get after it, and learn from your mistakes and just keep a positive attitude and keep trying to do the extra things, the little extra things that make a difference, both on the football field and in the real life world. It's amazing. And I tell my kids that to this day. It's like, if you want to be great, if you want to be successful, you have to work hard. Everybody's out there working hard, but to be great, you got to do a little bit more than everybody else. You got to work a
Yep.
little bit harder. And I learned that through my years competing in sports and throughout my time at Notre Dame and through the NFL as well. I wasn't a better athlete than a lot of guys that didn't play as long as I did. I just worked a little bit harder. I just did a little bit extra, and I found ways to give myself chances to be successful. And I think that's why it paid off the way that it did.
It's those extra reps. It's those hours that you don't want to do it, where it's not fun, where you're aching. You're aching after 17 years in the
You're
NFL.
tired, you're aching, you're beat up. Yep.
But the fact that you had that mentality and the fact that you had that drive and that you've been able to translate it over to business, I do see that too. And
But I'll tell you
appreciate
this:
it.
it's also being a good teammate, and one of
Yep.
the great things that Marsh has for me, it's we're the largest commercial insurance broker in the world. We've got resources that a lot of other insurance brokers don't have,
Mm-hmm.
and but you have to know how to engage those people and in those teams of people, and um, let them know how much you appreciate them, and literally become a team. a team member where you're not trying to, you've got to deflect a lot of the positive attention and thank your teammates and elevate them, because a lot of times they're the ones doing the hard work behind the scenes and you're getting credit for it. Just like the quarterback, a lot of times gets a lot of credit when really it's because he's got a lot of support around him. Well, it's the same in the business world too. I think when you're a person that people want to work with and they get excited about working with and feel appreciated, they're going to work a little bit harder for you, and they're going to help you create those wins in the boardroom as well as in the football field.
100%. It is a by committee action, and I
Yeah.
know that that as a quarterback, they get a lot of the glory and the fame, and much to your chagrin, like you should. I mean, if you make the right pass and stuff like that. But it's those linemen that are blocking. It's the running back
No
that made
doubt.
the right route. It
No
all
doubt.
culminates into that. So the
Yeah.
last thing I want to ask you then in this luck management podcast is, are you lucky?
Am I lucky? There are many times in my life that I would have answered no. I don't think in general I am what what would be considered to be a lucky person. Like, I'll give you a quick example. If I'm in the supermarket and I got to choose between which lane to go to, if you're right behind me, choose the opposite one, because I'm always going to choose the wrong lane to get into. Those kind of things, I'm not lucky at all. And like, you've never been lucky in bingo or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as lucky in life, I consider myself to be very lucky. And, I've got wonderful family. I was raised by incredible parents and my brothers, and have had incredible experiences throughout the course of my life. We've talked about Notre Dame and the NFL. How could I even begin to think that I'm not lucky? I've been tremendously blessed with incredible opportunities and friends and family. So I consider myself very, very lucky, without a doubt.
That's fantastic. And that is the luck management lifestyle. So thank you so much, Steve, for coming on to the podcast and showing some of your wisdom and being able to talk about your life in terms of Notre Dame, but also past that. I'm very thankful, and I know that all the luckies out there, I like to call them, will absolutely appreciate this episode. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Glad to do it, Carter, anytime, and hope we can cross paths again.
Yep. So wherever you listen, Apple or Spotify, we're also on YouTube. Keep living the luck management lifestyle. Peace. And then